In this video, I'm going to give you a complete walkthrough of my shooting and editing workflow. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know how to shoot and edit in a really efficient manner, because lately I've been doing a lot of videos on here about how I've changed my shooting and editing workflow to make it more efficient so I can shoot more properties and have a bit more time in the evenings to either spend on my business or spend on myself. And so I'm going to talk you through each stage of the process. That's shooting in the property and then the editing afterwards, or well, not so much editing as the case may be, because I now use AI editors, as I'm going to show you later. And if you see my videos already, you kind of know about that, as I use Auto HDR. So let's start off by talking a bit about the equipment I've got here. I've got a Sony a6700. You don't have to use Sony cameras. You can use Canon, Nikon, Fuji, whatever. Basically, any camera built in probably the last 10 years, it's going to be fine, as long as it has 20 megapixels and you can shoot bracketed, because we are going to be shooting those bracketed HDR shots, which we can send to the editor to edit. And then the lens we've got here, we have a 10 to 18 millimeter lens, and this camera is an APS-C camera, not full frame. So the 10 to 18 is actually a full frame equivalent of 15 to 24 millimeters. So that gives a good range, good wide range that we can use to get everything in the field of view. So if you're picking a lens, you kind of want to be in that range of like 14 to 16 millimeter at your widest point. That's going to allow you to get kind of everything you need to in the rooms. Anything sort of narrower than sort of 16 millimeter, you are going to be getting a bit too narrow. I think you're not going to be able to get everything in the room. So that's why I'm using here this 10 to 18 millimeter lens. And then down here, obviously we've got a tripod. I'm using a tripod by K&F Concept. They do great affordable tripods, but again, you can use any manufacturer. And here I'm using a geared head. And the reason I use this, it is a bit more expensive than like the ball head, which you'll probably get with the tripod, but you can just do those sort of fractional movements. And I like that better than the ball head, because I find the ball head, it just moves too quickly and can be a little bit trickier to get level. But this is a bit more expensive, so if you don't want to spend the money and just go with the ball head, you'll be fine with that too. I mean, I'll put links to all my equipment below so you can check it all out. So that's pretty much all you need. I mean, I have got a flash trigger here, because there are occasions where I still do shoot a bit of flambient when it's really dark rooms, and I just need to get that extra bit of light in. But I don't think I'm going to be using that today. We're just going to be talking about how we shoot the bracketed HDR and how we can get around this property super quick, so we can make sure your workflow is nice and efficient. So I'm going to give you pretty much a real-time-ish walkthrough of how I'm going to shoot this property. I'm actually shooting all this video on my Insta360 X5, so apologies if the quality isn't quite as good as normal, but it should be pretty decent still. But it should be a good way of giving you a bit of behind-the-scenes look of how I'm shooting. Obviously here it's an empty property, so a lot of properties you're going to go to are going to be lived in, so there's going to be more moving stuff around. So when I arrive at those sort of properties where they are lived in, the owner's there, what I usually say to the owner is, can I have a look around the property first? I'll just take a walk around so I know how big the property is, what rooms I've got to shoot, and then I can let the owner know what things need to be moved. So often it's like bathrooms and kitchen worktops. There's usually loads of clutter on those, and bathrooms, load of bottles. So I just ask them, could you put those away, please? But if the owner's not in, you're just going to have to do those yourself. But hopefully the owners have prepared enough, and it's going to be pretty tidy, because hopefully you call ahead and prep them up. But obviously places like this, which are empty, they're nice and easy. You're not going to have to move anything around, but you're just going to get a good idea today of the sort of angles we're going to take and sort of how to position your camera to get the best shots. So in terms of settings, which I have on my camera, which is going to be the same for pretty much every shot we're going to be doing inside here, I set it up on ISO 200, so that's going to give you really good detail. And I have it set at f9, and then I put it on aperture priority. This is what's going to make it really quick, because you're not going to have to adjust any more dials, not going to have to adjust the shutter speed, because having it on aperture priority means it's just going to set the shutter speed for you depending on the scene. But we're also going to have that set on the sort of bracketed mode, so then it's going to take the 3 shots. So it's going to take the underexposed shot first, and then the middle shot, and then the overexposed. And we're going to set the camera up so it shoots, well, I'm going to set it up for 3 shots at 2 stops apart. And I'll show you on the back of the camera how that looks. Obviously, it's going to be a bit different maybe if you're using a Fuji, Canon, Nikon camera, but it's all the same sort of principle, but it's really easy on this. And you can also adjust this pretty easy as well to take 5 shots, because sometimes you can get like the really high dynamic range in places where it's really bright outside, really dark inside. So you want an extra couple of stops just to make sure you're getting the shadows and the highlights in both the inside and the outside. But that's pretty much all the settings you'll need to know to get going, to get shooting on your camera. So yeah, I'm going to take you around room by room, showing you how I'm taking the shots. So in here, we've got a nice big kitchen diner, and obviously got bifolds at the back here. And the first thing I'm going to do is open those bifolds. I mean, it could be an idea perhaps to take a shot with them open and with them closed, but my client always just likes them open. So first thing I'm going to do is get those open. And actually, do excuse there's some smoke out there, so it's all right. I'm not going to burn down. I think someone's sort of burning something in the field, but hopefully that's not going to mess up my photos too much. But I'm going to get those bifolds open now, and then we're going to start shooting. So I've got the bifolds wide open now. I'm absolutely freezing because it's the end of December here, and it's about 3 degrees outside. So excuse me if I sound a bit shivery, because it is flipping Baltic here in the UK now, and not the ideal day to have the bifolds open like this, but it all looks nice, and that's what we want to do. We want to get these photos looking the best possible. So I'm going to take you through a proper walkthrough now of how we shoot. So I've got my camera set up over here in the corner, and the majority of times you are going to want to take your shots from the corner of the rooms, because that's where you're going to get the widest field of view. I mean, sometimes straight on is going to look good too. There's no kind of right or wrong. There's no sort of thing that's saying you have to get like 2 walls in or 3 walls in. I know some people say that, but it's just whatever is going to get you the best shot, get everything in you need to see. And sometimes it might be a case that you need to take some close-up angles and then take shots from the other side of the room as well to make sure you're getting good coverage. But I'm just going to bring the camera over here now so you can see what I'm doing from behind the camera whilst I'm taking the shots, and then I'll put up the results on screen as I'm taking each photo. As I say, I've got this set up on aperture priority. That means all you have to do is just get your camera in the position you want it, frame it as you want it, and then simply click the shutter release button, and that is it. So here we go. I've got it all set up already. And one last thing to know actually is, if you can, have it set up on a 2-second delay timer. That way you're not going to get any camera shake when taking the photos. So I've got it set up now. I'm simply going to click the shutter release. There's the timer. 1, 2, 3, boom. That's it. That's that one done. So now let's take you around to another angle. So just going to get one from over here too now. Right, now I'm going to take one sort of straight on from here. So we're going to see through the worktop, through the hob, onto the sink. Get this all nicely lined up. Timer on. Great. Then I'm going to do another one that's going to look straight down here, a bit more square on this time. And then might do another one, same sort of thing, just down here. Each time just making it nice, make sure it's nice and level. Cool, I think that's pretty much good coverage from here. Now I'm going to bring you over here. And we're going to get some shots from this side looking in. So let's pop that down there a second. Make sure this door's closed down here. Sorry, excuse the planes. We're near Stansted Airport, so it gets pretty loud sometimes. So I'm going to pop the camera outside here, and so you can see from behind where I'm shooting here. And we'll do another one back here, I think. Cool, I think that's pretty much good coverage of the kitchen. So as we've got these bifolds open, we might as well shoot the outside too. And the outside I do shoot a bit differently in terms of the settings I use on my camera, because I don't shoot aperture priority mode. I do put it on manual mode because I do feel you need to adjust the shutter speed more to your liking with that, because if you leave it on aperture priority mode, the camera is going to kind of take a reading with the whole scene, and often that means taking a reading of the sky, so it'll often leave the property looking pretty dark. So you want to be adjusting your shutter speed and your aperture so that the property is what is bright, and well, so you've got a good balance really between the sky and the property, but really you want to be exposing for the property. So I'm just going to go out there now and take a few shots, and I will put those on screen so you can see them. So when shooting the outside, I will usually use the viewfinder because often it's quite bright, so it's quite hard to see what's going on the back of the camera. So I'm just going to take a couple of shots now, like I say, on manual mode. I'm shooting at f9 again, still on ISO 200, and I'm just going to adjust the shutter speed accordingly. So I'll take a few shots now and I'll put those on screen. So now I'm going to shoot this shower room down here, and generally, well, shower rooms like this sort of size, you probably will be shooting from the doorway so you can get everything in. And you want to make sure you're getting all the appliances in, so you're getting the sink, toilet and shower cubicle, maybe a bit of the heated towel rail too. Something to keep in mind as well when shooting the showers, they obviously often have like the glass out on them, so you're going to have to be careful about not getting your reflection, but sometimes it's a bit unavoidable, but that's another good reason to have it on that 2-second timer, so you can sort of click the shutter and then get out the way. And then what's great about this AI editing software is it will remove the camera and tripod from the shot for you. So I'm just going to set this one up now. I've got this on aperture priority again, as I mentioned. I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit because I don't really want to see the edge of the door in it. So I've got the towel rail in, I've got the sink, and we've got the shower and the loo. So click the timer. There we go, job's good, and that's all we need in that run. So now I'm going to come around here to this little room in front. Again, I'm just going to take a shot from the doorway really, because there's nothing in it really. We only really need one shot in here. So you can zoom it back out a little bit. Got it on the aperture priority still. Click the shutter, and that's it. There we go. So now we're going to move around here to the hallway, and we'll come to the front first here. And as you can see, a nice big entrance hall in here. So we're going to make sure we get all this. I'm going to get a straight on shot so we can see through to the kitchen, up the stairs and into this room to the right a bit as well. So make sure this is all level. Put it on timer, and then I'll put the results on the screen now. And then I might just take another one, a bit more of an angle around here. So with these shots, I'm not necessarily going to use all of them. just good to take a few different angles so you've got a good choice to send to your client. So I'm going to get another shot now looking towards the door as well. So just come back up here and we'll get one from this view as well. Right, hopefully you're getting a good idea of how quick and efficient shooting this way can be. So now we're going to come through here into this living room. I'm actually going to pull this door shut so I don't get the edge of it. But again, I'm going to come in the doorway because that way it's going to give me a widest field of view. Cool, that's that one done. And then we're going to get one from the other side so we can see this doorway now. So come over here. Make sure we're nice and level. Great, and then we'll just get one from the other side of the room as well. Just going to shut these doors now because they open into the room. And then yeah, we'll just finish off, do last shot on here. And then that's pretty much the ground floor done, I think. And again, I'll just put the results of this shot on the screen. Cool, well, that's the ground floor done. Let's head upstairs. So upstairs now into the bedrooms. And this is a nice big bedroom. Don't know if you can see over here, we've got really nice views over the field. So again, probably going to open these bifolds and get some shots from inside looking out, and also just get some shots just from the window, looking at the view out onto those fields. But first of all, I'm just going to take a couple of shots with those bifolds closed, and then we'll do another shot with them open as well. So just put those bifold windows open. There's actually no screen there, so it's a little bit dangerous. So hopefully you won't get too close to those and fall over the edge, but we'll just take a shot with them open. So as I mentioned earlier, if you want to get like full coverage of the room, take like opposite corners of the room. That way you are just going to get everything in the room in just 2 shots. So here I'm actually going to have to sort of cramp myself in under the eaves a little bit here. Been taking a shot from this angle as well, because that way you can see into the ensuite that's over there too. So take the shot now and put the results on the screen for you. So this bathroom is a little bit of a tricky one because shooting from the doorway, you're still not going to get everything in. So you might have to like take a shot from each side of this bathroom. And sometimes with bathrooms as well, it can be a bit tricky getting the tripod set up. So in these cases, I do sometimes bump the ISO up a bit, because on modern cameras, to be honest, you can shoot like 800, 1000, maybe even higher, and it's still going to look pretty good, to be honest, especially when viewed on smaller screens. You're not going to see any sort of deterioration detail too much. But what it means is you can shoot handheld then, because you've got that higher ISO, it's going to keep the shutter speed nice and high still, so you can kind of get in the corner and get a decent shot of sort of rooms like this, which can be tricky to get the tripod in. So I'm just going to take these shots now and I'll put those on the screen, because I won't really be able to film it in here, because otherwise I'll be getting this camera in the shot too. So just got a couple more rooms to do now in this house. I've got this bedroom, another bedroom over there, and the other bathroom to do. But I hope you're getting a good sense of just how quick it is to shoot this way when you shoot in bracketed mode and you've got it on that aperture priority mode, because all you need to do is get your camera set up and press the shutter. That is it pretty much. Obviously there's a bit of difference when you're shooting outside. Like I say, well, the way I like to do it is put it on the manual mode. You could do it aperture priority mode and still do that bracketed mode if you want, but like I say, I just like to shoot a single shot and have a bit more control over the settings for the exterior shots. But I'm absolutely freezing now because, like I say, it's the end of November. This is an empty property. The heating's not on. So I'm going to whiz around, get the rest of these shots done, and you're going to join me back at the computer, and I'm going to show you how you get your files off your memory card onto the computer, how you organize them, and how you can edit them using Auto HDR. I can't wait to get back in the car and warm up. I'll see you back at the desk soon. See you in a little while. So I'm back in the warm finally now, and I'm just going to take you through the process that I do with every property to get the photos off my memory card onto my computer and then upload them to Auto HDR to be edited, and then just show you the little bit of tweaking that I do in Lightroom to get them ready to send to my clients. So we'll jump onto the computer now and I'll start a screen record. And the first thing that I do is I make files for the property. So here I have all the agents that I work with. So I'm just going to click on the file which is for the agent that this job was for. The photos that I'm going to be showing you actually are for a different property because I didn't get a chance to record that the other day. This is actually a couple of days later, but as I say, it's the same process for every property. But within the agents folder, I have 3 folders here. I have a raw folder, which is the unedited photos, which is the photos, well, the files from the memory card, which we're going to want edited. And then here I have Auto HDR, which is a file which is going to contain the edited files from Auto HDR. And then because I'm just going to do a little bit of tweaking on those in Lightroom, I then have a final file which is JPEG, and that is the final JPEGs that I'm going to send off to my client. So in here in RAW, I'm just going to make the folder. So it was 16 honey suckle close, and then I'll do another one in the JPEG folder because we're going to save it there later. I won't do one in the Auto HDR folder because that's just going to be made once we download the files. So once you've got your files done, I select all my files that I want to be edited in Adobe Bridge. I mean, you can just copy them straight over from Finder perhaps, or Files if you're on Windows computer, but I just like to do it in Bridge because you can obviously view them a lot bigger, and so you can see the files that you've shot. And also, if there's any files that you don't want to use, I just find it a lot easier to select them in Bridge. But like I say, you don't have to do this. You could just copy them straight over from Finder. But here's the start of the shoot today, and then I'm going to go all the way to the end, select them all, and then like I can see here, I've got 2 exteriors there which are the same. I'm just going to get rid of that one, and I'm just going to go through and check if there's any others which I don't want, and yeah, I'm probably going to get rid of that one too. And then I'm just going to batch rename, so I right click batch rename here, and then browse. And then I'm going to find the file that I just made of the raw file. So that is here. And then I name it, so all the files will be named correctly then. And then I start number 1 and then rename. And then all those files are then going to be put into that raw file ready for me to edit, or rather upload to Auto HDR to edit. So that's that done. So we can see here now, if we go back to our file, there they all are. And you'll notice actually that they're all JPEGs, and this might come as a surprise to some people, but with Auto HDR, they say that you can just shoot with JPEGs and it gets edited just as well. And I've actually found that to be correct. And one benefit of doing that is the file sizes are smaller and the upload time is a lot quicker. And being all about efficiency now, that's great to hear, I think. I do shoot the exteriors quite often in RAW though, just because I'm often just shooting that single shot as I described. And obviously if you've got the raw files of a single shot, it just gives you, well, there's a lot more information in that file. So you can draw back the highlights of the skies or bring up the shadows of the property to get your exposure right when editing. But for the majority of the interiors, I do shoot JPEG now. But we'll get back to what we do next. So then we just want to go to the Auto HDR website, which is autohdr.com. And if you've never used it before, you'll need to set up an account. So you just got to type in your email, set up a password, and then you're ready to go, really. I mean, I have done a full walkthrough of how to use Auto HDR, so I'll link that below and link it at the end as well. So it's a bit of a beginner's guide. I'm not going to go through fully all the details of it. I'm just going to show you how to upload and download the photos from it. So it's really very simple though, because the first screen you get browse files, and this is simply where you're going to drop your files. So you can click here, browse files, and then I'm going to find the file where we save those photos, and then we're going to select all of them. And there's a few things you can select here. There's like different styles that you of editing that you can choose. So I just leave it on classic. Here I actually take sky replacement off quite often because I don't really like the sky replacements that it do on Auto HDR. But just for this video, I'm actually going to leave it on just so you can see it. And because I like to edit my exteriors myself, but just for the efficiency, I'm just going to show you how you can have the exteriors edited on here and have the skies replaced, because it was a pretty dull day, so you can kind of get an idea of how they look. So you just put the property name in here, and then all you do, continue, and then they'll start uploading. And obviously the bigger the property, the longer it'll take to upload. But then it will only take about, well, this property this size, it'll probably take about 15 minutes. I mean, they say that you'll have the photos back within half an hour. And I find generally that, yeah, they're back within sort of 15 to 20 minutes. And in that time, you can be doing something else. Like I draw floor plans, so I can be checking my floor plans, scanning those, uploading them, or organizing my diary for the next day. So I'm just going to leave those to process and get on with something else, and then we'll come back and take a look at the edited photos, and you can see what I do in Lightroom to get them ready to send to my client. So I've just received the email back for the edited photos, and like I say, it was about 15 minutes. And in that time, I was checking over the floor plan for this property. I made a couple of calls for jobs tomorrow and just did some general admin, really. So that was all sort of time saved, really, because normally I would have been editing those photos and I wouldn't have been able to do that until after I finished editing those photos. But now we're just going to take a look at what we've received back from Auto HDR. So I'll start another screen record now. And when you get the email, there'll be a link on the email, but I'm just going to be on the Auto HDR website here. I'm just going to click on listings. And here on the left-hand side, you'll get a list of all the properties that you've uploaded. And we can see the one I did the other day, actually, if you want. So that's here, and you can see where it's got ticks on. These are the ones that I've downloaded. But we'll just go to the one that we were working on earlier. So this is the one here. So you can click on them individually to see what they look like. And you can make some edits in here with brightness, contrast, etc. But like I say, I just do this quickly in Lightroom because, to be honest, I don't find it does a huge amount of difference. But you can just click through them by pressing the sort of left and right keys here if you want to view them full screen, that is. But I'm just going to select them all to download. And actually, we'll just have a quick look at the exterior. And you can see here, it's like added in the blue sky. And obviously, we'll need to get rid of the registration here. Unfortunately, the owner wasn't in, otherwise I would have got them to move the car. But all you need to do then is click select all and then download. And then that's kind of all your editing done. I mean, you could probably send those off, but I just find they can look a little bit flat and dull sometimes. So that's why I just do a little bit of tweaking to them. So you get a zip file here to download, just double click on that. And then I simply copy that file, go back to my file that I made earlier here. So we've got Auto HDR, and I paste that item in there. So now that's ready for me to have a look at in Lightroom. So now I'm just going to open up Lightroom. So once this is open, we're going to import the file. There we go. Click import. And then I go into develop here. And then what I've done, I've actually made a preset because, I mean, this one actually looks pretty good, to be honest. There's not a lot I would have to do to this, but I have a preset here called Auto HDR Bump. And as you can see, as I've just hovered over it, it just gives it a little bit of a lift, like just gives it a bit more brightness. So you can see here, I've just bumped up the exposure, added a bit of contrast, put the whites up a little bit and pulled back the blacks. I mean, maybe that's a little bit too bright, so just pull that back a little bit. And actually here, I would maybe just open it in Photoshop rather, because there's a little bit of a bit of dust must have been on the lens, which I didn't follow what I said earlier, did I? I didn't blow off the dust. So I'll have to just edit that, but I won't go through that just now. But basically, I then just go through all these pictures, just click bump, Auto HDR, bump, pop that down a little bit. I mean, that one's not too bad again, but I just see how it looks. And you can see it just gives it a little bit of a lift. Maybe just pull back the blacks a little bit. This one again, just do that. Exterior wise, like I say, I'm not too keen how the exteriors come out with this one. I mean, it's not the most glamorous looking property, so kind of what can you do? But this is what you get every day if you are going to be a real estate photographer. Not everything's like you see on Instagram. But if you wanted to here, you could just brighten that up a little bit, pull back the blacks. And I probably would just sort of straighten that one a little bit. And again, we will just brighten that one a bit. And that one actually looks all right. I'd probably just adjust the contrast a bit, maybe take back the highlights, pull the blacks down. Again, Auto HDR bump on that one. And again there. And do that one too. And then, yeah, again on this one, I would, yeah, just brighten this, and I'd take this one into Photoshop as well, just to edit. But so once I'd done those edits, if I'd taken them into Lightroom and I've got rid of the registration here, maybe even take out the car with generative fill and just do that little adjustment with the dust mark on that first shot. And once I'm ready, I will just go back to library, I select them all, and then we click export. And then we made that file earlier in the JPEG file, which is ready to send to our clients. And so we find that file here. So it's JPEG 16 honeysuckle. And then I do two files. So I send them a high res file and a low res file. So I've got my high res file here, and do the start number as 1. And they actually, one sort of downer, I guess, with Auto HDR is that it sends the files back at 72 DPI resolution. And that's fine for using on just online, looking on phones, on screens really. But I mean, if you're printing it out quite big, that can be one of the little drawbacks. And I have wrote to them, and a lot of other people have mentioned it. So hopefully they do allow you to download in 300 DPI. So just make sure that resolution matches the files that have been sent. So 72 pixels per inch, and then I've got the width to 3000 by 2000 for this particular file. And then simply just click export. So they're exporting into a high res file now. I mean, you might not even have to do two files, but it's just what my my client likes. Then I do a low res file, and I just make this a little bit smaller, 1800 by 1200, export. So that is all the editing done. And as you saw, all I had to do was upload it to Auto HDR. I just waited 15 minutes, download those files, and then I had that preset made. So I just went through really quickly, do a few little adjustments. I mean, you can do a little bit more, obviously, if needed. Take them into Lightroom, do those few extra tweaks. But it really was very quick. I mean, you could say, well, you've still got to go back into Lightroom and do all this. But that just took about 5 minutes to do. Whereas just doing like 1 or 2 blended photos in that sort of bracketed HDR, if you're editing it yourself, I mean, that's going to take 5 minutes alone. So you're going to be easily spending like half an hour, 40 minutes editing these anyway. But in that time, like I say, whilst Auto HDR was doing the editing, I was able to get on doing something else. It's all about being more efficient with your time so you can, well, get more done, finish quicker, spend a bit more time on your business or yourself. And to be honest, I think the auto HDR editing is looking pretty good. It's just that few little tweaks that I made just to brighten it up and add a little bit of contrast. But hopefully over time, there'll be a few more options in auto HDR to make the photos look better straight out of auto HDR. But with these files now exported, you can see here, JPEG file, go down, 16 honeysuckle, and you can see I've got my 2 files there. And then all I have to do now, I just go into Dropbox, find the agent. So again, I've got loads of the agents files set up in Dropbox here, and all I do is drag and drop it into that file, and then I just send the agent the link with that file on, along with the floor plan the next day. So hopefully that has given you a good overview of just how quick and efficient you can be shooting both in the property and then getting your editing done afterwards. So you really don't have to do much editing. And I found doing this now has sped my process up both in the property and editing, and it's just meant I can get a lot more done with my time. So I hope that helps. I mean, you do not have to follow this exactly to the word. You can come up with your own little ways. This is just the way I do it, and hopefully it just gives you a few ideas of how you can speed up your time. I mean, you might completely disagree with this. I mean, please do. If you leave in the comments below how you do it, or anything you do a little bit different, or maybe you don't like the way I'm doing it, I'd love to know. But like I say, I hope that helped, and I'll leave some links to the Auto HDR walkthrough as well, so you can get a good idea how to use that. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one.